Hi, everyone. As you know, I'm Chris Burney. I'm the Dean for the College of Nursing here at Niagara University, and I was asked to make a recording of the presentation that we gave to alum. I guess it was about a week and a half ago, just letting everyone know of the updates and exciting things that are happening in and around Niagara. And so, for those of you who are interested, I hope you enjoy the presentation that I'm about to give to you. So one of the things we did this year was to really take a look at our mission statement and our programmatic goals for our undergraduate and now our graduate learners. And as a group, we agreed that we wanted to bring our mission statement back to reflect some of the very basic fundamental foundations of Vincentian education. And so this statement that you see on the screen is our newly revised mission statement that you can see does include getting the students to really embrace what makes us different. And I'm going to talk on a different slide about some of the activities that one of our faculty is doing to really embrace that Vincentian mission and make sure that it is integrated throughout a student's experience here at Niagara. People often ask me about statistics within the college, and so this slide really provides some of that for you. You can see that in the spring, this current semester, we have a total of 307 students. That's up about 17 from last spring, and that number is as of a week and a half ago when I held the live session of this review. We have 292 undergrads, and we have 15 graduate students. Those students are enrolled in our Master of Science Family Nurse Practitioner program. So that is in its second semester and going very, very well. The accelerated admissions we do hold twice a year. And we also, like I just mentioned, have the FNP program running twice a year in January and May. I'm very happy to report that the RN to BSN program, which we had on hold because of low enrollment and some challenges we had with an outdated curriculum, is reopened for this coming summer. And we do have a couple students that are already registered for that online program. The Master's in Education was also approved this past year, and that will be opening in August of 2025. Both of those programs are going to be offering 8-week classes, so the students will take 1 or 2 classes at a time in a condensed 8-week block. They are online classes. They are largely asynchronous classes, with the exception of the immersion experiences or the clinical experiences or the practicums or what have you that each of the programs requires of its students. When we talk about NCLEX, because that is the other hot topic people often ask about, I'm thrilled to be able to tell you that we continue to perform fairly well at our undergraduate levels. You can see we ended the entire year at an 87% for the traditional. We were at 84%. The May students who graduated in the accelerated program all passed, and the 87% that we have for the accelerated program for the entire year, really that number is, I would say, not artificially low because that is the number, but we didn't have a ton of enrollees taking the NCLEX, so I think we may have had 18 students or thereabouts taking the NCLEX. So if one student doesn't pass, the number falls pretty quickly. So that compares with the traditional students where there's about 60 or 65 students taking that test. So you can see the number would fall a little bit quicker. So we're fairly pleased with both of these numbers. We know that there are some students who do not perform well on tests on the first try. We know some students struggle with anxiety these days, and there's lots of different reasons why they may not be successful on the first take of the NCLEX. That really has nothing to do with their competence at being a nurse. So I'm thrilled to report to you that nearly 100% of the students were able to pass on the second attempt. We had students come to the alumni presentation. Cassidy and Kai help us oversee the Student Nurses Association. And I think what they conveyed to the alum is simply that they're an extremely active group this year. There are about 200 students in the Student Nurses Association. It is the largest student group on campus. They have been doing numerous events to fundraise and give back to their communities, and they have been afforded the opportunity to attend the National Student Nurses Association conferences that have been held. They've gone to Orlando, they've gone to Nashville, and next month, they are going to Seattle, Washington. And there are about 20 of them going, and that number seems to grow every single year. They go with faculty, and they're the hit of the conferences. So the students are, they're very, very well behaved, they are articulate, they are knowledgeable, and what's lovely is they come back and they say, wow, we didn't realize how well prepared you are making us, but until we talk to other students at other institutions, and some of the things that they're doing here are novel and a little bit different than what others are doing. They seem to be a little bit more advanced for the level of education that they're at. And so all in all, that's been a really positive experience for the students. This slide here just kind of gives you some of the highlights of the SNA. I said 200 members. I suppose I need to scale that back, 120, 230 members. Last year, there might have been 200. They, like I said, they do fundraise. They bring in donations, and then they take those donations to neighboring partners in the community. They've been doing a lot of work at the Buffalo Bills games, so they get a concession stand, again, with faculty or other adults that are assisting faculty in oversight, and they get a percentage of the sales. And so far, they've raised over $8,000 between clothing that they have designed, between doing the concession stands. They do candy sales. Every student who travels is required to partake in some of these. And the culmination of the year is going to be a meat raffle. If you've been to a meat raffle before, you know how fun this is going to be. It's going to be held here on campus. And if you are a Facebook person, you have seen the flyer that is on Facebook. If you're interested and you are local, we would love to see you here. This is the conference trip I mentioned to you. Lots of networking that takes place here. They do a little bit of a board review. They are getting seizure aid certification, seizure first aid certification. And some of our students will be presenting. And one of the faculty that's going is Dr. Christine Nelson-Tuttle, who oversees our research courses. And our honor students go and present their work both locally and now nationally. So we're really excited that she's going to be there with them to help them highlight some of the work they're doing in their undergraduate program. We've done a couple service learning trips this year. The first one we did was in Guatemala. We sent a group of 10 students to Guatemala. Again, if you're not a Facebook fan of Niagara's College of Nursing, please feel free to do that, because I do try to keep the Facebook page updated with all the things that the students and the faculty are doing. They went to a couple different schools to run clinics, and at those clinics they did screenings and learned a lot about the developmental challenges that are the result of, under-resourced communities, no drinking water or food, desert kind of areas for these youngins that live in Guatemala. We attended a long-term group facility for the developmentally disabled. We met with midwives, and they talked a lot about how they help their communities in the face of a lack of medical providers to assist with care. And they were able to do a lot of reflection with the Guatemalan healthcare colleagues that we worked with to learn the differences that are clearly apparent between their healthcare systems and ours. The second trip we went on was in December, and we went to Liberia in Africa, in West Africa. We have a professor here whose family lives in West Africa, and they assisted us with being able to go and speak to, again, healthcare professionals as well as educators in Liberia. We went to the Minister for Health, which is kind of like, I would say, the U.S. Department of Education, or thereabouts, or the New York State Department of Education would probably be better. But she oversees all of education for all of Liberia, and was able to talk to the students about their experiences in Africa to try to better understand what the differences are between the two areas. And they saw firsthand the disparities that exist with the nursing education there. They have, books that we have used. I saw their books, the nursing books that they use, but they're older editions, and they don't have a lot of those resources, and a lot of the community is very poor, leading to some challenges with being able to attend school and get the resources that you need while you're in school in order to be successful. All in all, both of these trips were absolutely amazing for student learning. And they were, in this instance, they were able to go to an emergency department. That emergency department had no air conditioning, curtains on only half the windows. It was 90 degrees outside, and it was warmer inside. And they were in a room where the patients didn't have beds per se. They were all sitting in what we have as traditional outdoor plastic non-folding lawn chairs. So just a really unique experience for them to be able to see a different perspective and hopefully come back and allow that experience to shape their nursing care as they move forward. Oops, sorry. Dr. Chris Nelson Tuttle, as I mentioned, she oversees our research courses and also the honors program here in the College of Nursing. We do have several students annually who present in the Honors College, and basically what they have to do is take the curriculum, and certain courses in their curriculum are enhanced. So they have to do what the regular traditional non-honors students are doing in addition to activities that are specifically targeting that meeting of an honors designation. And, thrilled that we've had multiple students who have been able to present locally, namely at the Professional Nurses Association of Western New York. They've presented on campus at the Research and Scholarship Days, and they are presenting nationally. I believe all of the students that we've had in the last 3 or 4 years have all gone on to grad school. Simran, who is in the top right slide, as well as the bottom right hand slide, was accepted immediately into a psychiatric nurse practitioner residency in another state, which is amazing. They work in critical care units in residencies across the country, actually. So really, really positive experiences for them. And as I mentioned, there are some students who will be presenting at the National Student Nurses Association conference that's going to be held in Seattle next month. Dr. Teresa Puckett provided an update on the Vincentian mission integration that I talked about at the beginning of the slide, and really uses this image as the foundation of her communication of the Vincentian leadership model to stakeholders who she speaks to. And she serves on committees within the within the university to represent nursing in learning about the Vincentian leadership model and how to integrate the Vincentian values into the student learning experience. Now, most of us know that St. Vincent de Paul, who is our patron saint, really was dedicated to improving the lives of the poor and the disenfranchised. And as nurses, that's really kind of fundamental to what we do as well. We just typically don't do a great job tying the language of a Vincentian model into nursing education. And so, as I mentioned previously, this was important for the College of Nursing team, faculty and staff alike, to revisit making sure that the students understood the words and the actions that that align with a Vincentian model of care and learning. And so what Teresa has done is added mission integration topics and content into the orientation of students when they join Niagara University. It is included in the clinical competencies and the evaluation tool that they use to evaluate all of the students. The students have a copy of that tool when they begin a clinical rotation, so they see what's on there and they're able to talk a little bit about that during their clinical experiences. They've added discussion questions, which the students do online, that reflect a student needing to do a little bit of self-reflection and journaling on the topic. And after the classes, we have created surveys that the students are asked to fill out, and that survey is called Practicing from a Vincentian Perspective. Initially, that survey was given out, and the scores were really, really poor in terms of a student understanding what the Vincentian perspective means. But as we've been kind of defining it for them and giving them examples of how St. Vincent de Paul led, and cared for his communities, they are able to easily extrapolate experiences from their clinical and class and lab and sim lives to say, oh yeah, this is how we are helping. This is one way I have learned how to adapt and incorporate Vincentian values into my care, and have been having a very positive experience with that. So we're collecting data on that. We'll be very pleased to report that data, as it comes in, and we analyze it to demonstrate that the students really do gain a better understanding of what it means to get a Vincentian education by the time they finish here at NU. People ask me a lot about the collaborations that we have at Niagara, and in a nutshell, we partner with all the big health systems here in Western and Western New York. We partner with institutions as far out as Rochester right now, all the way down to the Pennsylvania border. We have students who do capstones in their hometowns if they're in New York State, which is lovely because they can be closer to family towards the end of their program. We have a partner, the Finger Lakes Performing Provider System, which is a partner that is working with Governor Hochul, the governor of New York, to provide education for some of the higher needs healthcare programs free on scholarships and grants. And so we're thrilled that for the last 2 semesters now, we've been able to try to work through that and get people some funding so that they can get their education paid for. I mean, we're so very lucky that most of the clinical partners are asking for Niagara students. Actually, today I have a meeting with one of the clinics in Niagara Falls who's reaching out because while they were not ready for students previously, they are ready now and they want NU students. So we do not find significant challenges finding clinical placements, and the feedback we get from the students informs us whether or not the places are, good quality, have supportive team members for student learning, and generally we have a very positive feedback from the students. So lots of partners, lots of really great things that are happening for us. And then one of the other things I wanted to talk about is just our expansion. For those of you familiar with higher education, we struggle with a couple things. One of the biggest being that there just are not the same number of children attending college that there were maybe when I went to school, which for undergrad was, 25, 30 years ago. And for some of you watching was, how big your nursing classes were, they were very large. And that is, they call that the demographic cliff here, where they weren't born 20 years ago. Parents weren't having, adults were not having the number of children that they were having when I was born. And that has resulted in all institutions really struggling with how do we keep our enrollment up, keep our institution thriving, while recognizing some of the challenges that we have. And one of the things that we've been able to do is start looking in other areas of the world who don't have the luxury of a really good nursing education, of accredited programs, and they want to learn here in the US. And so this year we have 3 students from India and 1 student from Vietnam in our traditional undergrad program, and at the accelerated level and the traditional level, we have multiple people from Canada. Actually, in the nurse practitioner program, we have an individual from Ontario as well. And, our faculty and staff have really embraced these students. The picture on the right are the 3 students from India who are in our academic advisor's home cooking. They were cooking to show her some of the foods that they have in their native land that, they were thrilled to be able to share with her during the Christmas break. So, we are looking at other strategies to make sure they're successful, having resources available to them when they're here, helping them just culturally acclimate, understanding what the weather is going to be like and what kind of clothing they need and, where to buy things and how to save money and stuff like that. So really pretty positive experiences. We don't have a lot of students that fall into this category, but it is one area that we are trying to expand. And so I felt that it was important for me to share that with you. And the final thing, I think this is final, is enhancing our learning environment and sharing with you all the really, really, really great things that are taking place here. The resilience efforts, which I started in my first year here, have resulted in almost $1 million raised to have a resilience officer within the College of Nursing. She is a licensed mental health counselor. She counsels students, she meets with students and talks to them about the challenges that they're facing in everyday life, their transition to college. She's part of our orientations. She has newsletters that she sends out to the staff and students. We have tutors that include alum. This year we have an alum who graduated 1 year ago and was a tutor when she was a student and immediately reported that she just wanted to continue to give back to help students be more prepared when they do get out into the stage of taking the licensure exam and get out into the workplace. And so she meets with students virtually. She actually lives in Cleveland, Ohio now, and she meets with students virtually and helps them with some of those really challenging courses that they struggle with and that tend to be the courses that the students withdraw from or fail out of. And those include those biology classes, the elementary biology classes, chemistry class, and even pathophysiology at the nursing level. I do a lot of advocacy. I just returned from Albany. That picture on the right-hand side is myself with some of the clinical leaders in the state as well as academic leaders in the state. We go and advocate in Albany for, some of the things that are really, really important to nursing. And it could be workplace safety. It could be scholarship funds or tuition remission or preceptor tax credits for individuals who will educate either in the clinical setting or the academic setting, funding to forgive student loans. There's all kinds of things we lobby for, and I'm thrilled to be able to represent Niagara and work with my colleagues across the state. I do go to Washington, D.C. as well. I'm not going this spring, but I usually go twice a year to lobby on Capitol Hill as well. We are looking at and have adopted more of a holistic admissions practice. So if a student meets all of the criteria, they are admitted into the program, but there's individuals who maybe don't meet every criterion, but can demonstrate that they should be afforded the opportunity to go to nursing school. The example I give is that students go to under-resourced high schools. They possibly during COVID had some challenges in that freshman and sophomore year of learning, and that resulted in some grading that maybe isn't fully reflective of their competence. And so they're able to write stories about their lived experience. They're able to come in and speak to me. They are able to use other things to convey how they would be successful in nursing school. And we've been able to work with them to give them the opportunity to join, which has been good for them. It's good for their communities when they finish their programs, and it's really good for me because it's giving me a different perspective on what the students do in high school and really helps us better understand that not all high schools prepare students the same, and the students coming from all high schools still do deserve the opportunity to go to nursing school, in many cases. And so that has been a very positive thing for us. We are thrilled to share that we are expanding, and we have a $1.5 million earmark to renovate the Marion House. And I don't know what it was called when some of you were in school, but it is the building where the post office is that is adjacent to us across the street. The post office will remain, but nursing is actually going to take over the rest of that building. It is a one-story building, and we're going to add some simulation space in there. We're going to add a skills lab and a health assessment space in there. We will have a debriefing area that can also be a little bit of a student lounge, if you will. There's going to be a 40-seat classroom, some bathrooms, a lactation room for moms or individuals who need to breastfeed while they're in school. We're thrilled about this, and there'll be more information coming, but this is a crude floor plan. The architects have already been on campus a couple times. We've already been starting to do an inventory of the things we need, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. So this is kind of nursing in a nutshell. I hope that if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, cverney@niagara.edu. You can call me 716-284, 286-8124. I would love to hear from you all. Thank you for those of you who support me and us by sending letters, phone calls, coming, asking for tours, being willing to speak to students, help teach students, your philanthropic support, your donations of old memorabilia. It's all invaluable. We are very, very grateful for you. I look forward to continuing to showcase the wonders of Niagara University and the amazing opportunities afforded to the Niagara nurse in days to come. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for your time.